you have to see that it wasn't so much a choice, but a necessity. Just like the bare necessities. Oh, how I loved that film when I was little. It always fascinated me. How could an ultimately dystopian jungle, where the most abundant mantra was kill or be killed, be fantasized into a world of smiles and songs and solidarity? The lion lying down with the lamb, and even with mankind. What a glorious ideal. To the blind eye, my life strayed little from this path of perfection. We deceptively had the perfect ideal. We had a country house, a mum, a dad, a little girl, even a dog. But that's all this was, an ideal, a fictitious facade. My family and I moved here when we were quite young, 6, maybe 7, in the search for a new life, an escape from the web of the past. Well, the neighbours, they knew very little of us, likewise the people of the town, which was presumably what my parents had been searching for. You know, I remember one day we walked into a shop in the town, and the shopkeeper presumed we were tourists. Naturally, my dad laughed in the face of this mistake, and informed this innocent shopkeeper that, well, we'd lived here about 6 years. As the years went by, my parents began to argue more and more. We went out for tea this one day, which you could say caught me quite off guard. We didn't socialise. And we were just, well, walking along in silence, only too aware of the snapping of twigs like brittle bones beneath our feet, and the haughty whisper of the wind in the trees, reminding us of the simplistic wonders of nature and our misery. And then it began. It's your fault that, why do you always have to? And if only you'd. By now the arguing was increasing exponentially. But you'll never guess what it began with this time. You could have at least turned the bathroom light off when... Yeah, that really was it. A little thing like that could spark the blow of a full-scale explosion. Well, it quickly escalated. Oh my, did it escalate. Trivial issues were hurled. There was stomping, screaming, spitting. Each trivial issue after another, just all unfurled right there in the car park. It was a textbook temper tantrum on both parts. That was until Dad brought up Eden. Tears cascaded. Each droplet possessed more anguish than the last. It was like a waterfall, only not one of beauty and magnificence, but one that rendered a picture rife with remorse and bitter angst. Eden had been my sister. Well, she still is my sister. Just not in the sense that you'd understand. It was my fault, you know. I was too young to understand that I should have stayed away from the fire. But had I had more common sense, had I just been one of those girls that didn't need to be explicitly told the rules and regulations of life, but I just grasped them without concern, then maybe, just maybe, I would have known that you shouldn't play with fire. Eden was with Mum in the garden that day. She was 7. I was 6. I was in the playroom watching my favourite film. Jungle Book, of course. To the left of me was the fire. It looked so beautiful to my naive young eyes. I watched it as it danced upon the grate, its fingers flickering enticingly, beckoning me in. You see, I touched it. I reached in and touched the deceitful dancers. I stroked their open beauty. And then I screamed. Then Mum came running, and Eden was gone. Dad blamed Mum, Mum blamed me, and I blamed myself. It was a fire, you stupid girl! It was bound to be hot! But it asked me to touch it, it just begged me! Had the fire itself grown knees and fallen onto them with hands clasped, it would have been no more encouraging than its alluring flames have been already. Come to me, innocent girl! Come and experience the harsh realities of life and its torture! Fire kidnapped me just like the man kidnapped Eden. She was there one minute and she was gone the next. My sweet, sweet sister, taken by a stranger. The known taken by the unknown, never to return and never to be given back. So you see, we had to leave. We had to get away. Everywhere you looked was ridden with Eden's virtuous face. But you can't run from memories. And the scarred tissue on my left hand was just a relentless reminder of where the blame lay. You see, every argument that was had, it just led to Dad bringing up Eden's name, which naturally led to him blaming my mum. My mum would mention me, and the guilt would drown me once again. My parents split up. wasn't much of a surprise. It'd been a long time coming. I'd expected Dad, maybe, to fight for me. But there wasn't a custody battle. I wasn't wanted. That much was clear. After that, the self-indignation just burrowed further inside me like I was its host. Like the infestation of a foreign parasite in an indigenous tree. It didn't have to be there. It shouldn't have been there. Yet it was. And it worsened, and it deepened, and it intensified, until I could no longer look in the mirror without seeing the villain. I saw the man that kidnapped Ethan, and I saw myself, a condemned criminal, ridden with guilt and young foolishness. But it was those voices that did it. The voices, they just went on, and on, and on, and on. Why can they just not let it die? Instead, they let me die. It was all over instantaneously. The gun, the trigger, it was all too easy, like it was meant to be. So you see, I was at peace for the first time in my life, and I was content. I made no choices. I just did what was necessary, and my demise was as necessary as the bare necessities themselves. What would you have done?